I think that the settlements in the West Bank, their existence and the fact that they're not evacuated from there is actually against the interest, first of all, of Israel and Israelis. The settlements are huge, one of the biggest obstacles for peace, and one of the main reasons why we still don't have a viable agreement between Israel and the Palestinians that would ensure a two-state solution and having the two states independently neighboring each other in peace and security. I know that Trump, I mean, this is a political, I don't think it has to do with international law. It's a political statement of support in the settlement policy, but actually this policy hurts Israelis and Israeli interests. We have been living for decades now under constant threats of violence. The peace process is being stopped and not taking place anymore. And we see the outcomes as Israelis. We live this reality. Yes, we should solve this in a bilateral talks between Israelis and Palestinians, between two brave leaders deciding to change the course of history towards peace. We also need the help of our international allies and friends, and U.S. Is the biggest one, also with Europe and other countries in our region. Statements like that, they're part of politics, and maybe they're part of the alliance between Israeli right and American right and Republican right. But in the terms of what is the Israeli interest, that would be going back on track of peace talks and reaching a viable agreement rather than keep the conflict alive, and settlements, unfortunately, is part of what keeping the conflict alive. We have been living in a conflict for over 50 years now. We have two peoples sharing one land. I belong to the Jewish people who got its right of self-determination, by the way, from the UN, recognized by almost all the countries in the world, maybe except Iran. We are right now in military control over another people sharing the same land with us. That's the basic fact, and we need to think how we can solve this. The best way, and we've been living in 50 years of violence around this conflict. Just 2 weeks ago, we saw another violent round in Gaza. I live in Tel Aviv, the biggest city in the center of Israel, and we had alarms to sit in shelters for missiles, and the south of Israel get even more in constant reality. The only way to solve this conflict in a peaceful and secured solution is dividing the land between two states, Israel that already exist and recognized, including our capital in West Jerusalem, and Palestine next to us. And this can be achieved in an agreement, in diplomacy, in talking, not in fighting with each other. We can keep on fighting forever, but we don't want to. We want to change our course into a peaceful and secured solution. We need the help of the world. Of course, we'll have to achieve it, you know, between our leaders in the region. But, you know, going back to the Ottoman and British mandate and history, it helps us understand reality, but we need to better understand the future and look forward, how we solve this conflict. And actually, the solutions are on the table. They are there. We need a brave leadership to pick them up and make them a reality. This is what leaders should do for their people.
I'm going to go back to the other side of the panel. And Tanya Plibersek, this is a divisive issue in Australia. How would the Labor Party respond?
I just think it's so fantastic that we've got Tamar here to talk about it firsthand. And I feel a little bit self-conscious that we're all commenting on what's happening in her land. So thank you for bearing with us.
Yes. So how